Welcome into the Paul Kuharsky podcast. I am Paul Kuharsky of paulkuharsky.com, live from Nissan Stadium, where the Titans not long ago on this lovely field behind me, which has a year and a few games left in its existence, lost 16-13 to the Houston Texans, rivals of the AFC South. Pretty ugly affair. Entertaining in that it went down to the last minute, last second. Titans lose on a 35-yard field goal by Matthew Wright, who was on the Titans earlier this season, filled in for Joey Sly when he was injured. Titans not aggressive. Three things I wrote about. Mike McCoy not aggressive yet again, as is the way he likes to coach an NFL football team. Not aggressive. Lack of depth really showed up. Mason Kinsey, a disaster in this game, drops one ball, fails to communicate, be prepared, turn correctly for another ball from Cam Ward. Cam Ward took the blame on that, says he's just got to find a way to hit him in the chest. But Mason Kinsey also has to find a way to present himself to the ball on a wide open play. It's a route that he hadn't run before per Cam Ward. So the Titans thin out at receiver. They wind up with Van Jefferson and Mason Kinsey, the only two guys available for a little while before Alec Iomanor was able to come back. And then, penalties. They had 4 false starts per Jeffery Simmons at practice on Friday. And rather than getting their heads out of their asses, and saying, hey, we need to clean that shit up, and we can't do that in the game on Sunday. They have 5 false starts in the game on Sunday here. Simmons really pretty outspoken, talking about the offense. He talked about the 3 and outs. He talked about the penalties. All that stuff was offensive. Were offensive issues. So things are a mess. Locker room holding together, holding the fort. Look, they on a 4th and 2 from the 28, they kicked a field goal to go up 6-0. Woo, 6-0 lead. Mike McCoy loves shit like that. Then the Texans take the ball. They drive down the field. They're up 7-0. All of this Titans dominant feel disappears because 6-0 is, it doesn't matter how well you've played in getting to 6-0. He loves the fact that they scored points at the beginning of the first half and at the beginning of the second half. Well, congratulations. That's 6 points. And in the NFL in 2025, 6 points doesn't mean shit because the other team can come in and score a touchdown on one play or on one drive and make your 6 points look tiny, which is what the Texans did. And your 6 points doesn't mean much. And so you end up losing 16-13 and you get what you deserve. So, we ass, as Ocho says right here. I think Mike McCoy is just horrible. I really pressed him in the post-game thing. Like, if Amy and Chad and Mike came to you and said, play aggressive, would you do it? He kind of scoffed. But Tehran and I collectively pressed him on his determination to be conservative, and it just makes no sense. I mean, how long do you have to be conservative that way and lose that way? Like he said, all of these considerations and the flow of the game and all of that. What is going to change about this team that is going to make having 6 points early in the third quarter enough for you to win? What is going to change? Have you no concept about what this team is, what it can do, what the odds are, what the history week to week says? All of a sudden, is this going to be like a regular team in a regular season that is capable of putting up 24 or 28, and that's going to make your defensive play stand up? It's just ridiculous. It's just fucking ridiculous. Welcome to all of you, Unction, Elliot, Harry James, Clifford, and others. Unction, I'm sorry I kept you waiting. Try to get in here as fast as I can. I was not wiping the barbecue sauce from Edley's off my hands. I am unable, unfortunately, to eat at Edley's on Sunday. Harry says, thanks me for pressing on the less aggressive play calls. I can't say they would have won if they went for it, but it was a momentum killer for sure. And McCoy's dance around the question every game. He's just ridiculous. Any thoughts on why he didn't call his last time out in the fourth with 10 or 12 seconds left, but instead tried to ice the kicker? I don't know, but I don't find that important. William Gordon is coming to see his first Titans game in Nashville next Sunday. He's going to try to eat it. Adley, I just saw the very end of that Seattle game, the missed kick against the Rams. I do think Seattle's a very good team. I think they're going to come in here and destroy the Titans. So I'm sorry you're going to see that as your first game, William. We should definitely try to go to Adley's. If you're staying downtown, you could go to 12 South very easily with a Uber ride, or Sylvan Park. How do you have so many false starts in the quietest stadium in the league? Nissan is lifeless. Well, J.C. Latham, who was very unapologetic and casual about his penalties, said, they changed the cadence a couple times. Well, everybody else on the line on those plays seemed to handle the cadence. It's the other thing. J.C. Latham, very unapologetic and casual about his problems in this game, where he committed 3 false starts and a holding call. And then Mason Kinsey, very unapologetic. Well, you'd like to hit all those big plays. I didn't hear Kinsey. I just read Kinsey. But he said, you'd like to hit all of those deep plays, but this is pro football. It doesn't happen. But, I'm a professional, and I'll take the blame for not getting it done. Now, you say that first, and you sell out. Mason Kinsey is a great story that he's lasted this long in the league. But the Titans, since 2020, have had this guy on their practice squad and on and off of their roster. You should be getting a touch better than him every single year. You bring in a guy who's just a guy, you like him, maybe you get 2 years, and then you find a guy who's a touch better and you try to get to his ceiling, and you bring in a guy who's a touch better. And from 2020 to 2025, they should have gotten a touch better at that spot on the practice squad, or the back end of the wide receivers on the 53. Every year, a touch better, a touch better, a touch better. And they still have Mason Kinsey on the roster, who comes in, can't catch that deep ball. Cam said he should have thrown a better ball. He should have thrown a better ball. You've got to make that play. You've got a guy wide open up the sideline. Then he drops another one that's right in his hands when he's stretching for it. That is unacceptable play in the NFL. And it's because you have not gotten a better guy over and over and over and over. You've settled for that guy on your practice squad. Now, all of you are going to say Restrepo. I'm going to say Restrepo hasn't outplayed that guy. That's how bad it is. And you just over and over and over accept that guy. Well, he's a really good practice player. He plays great receiver for us on the scout team. He plays great safety for us on the scout team. He's of value for us. Well, the mission isn't to have good guys who can do that stuff on your scout team. The mission is to have a guy who ultimately, when you need him, can come into a game like today and make 2 key catches for you. And guess what? He didn't make those 2 key catches for you. He was a big contributor to a losing effort. The one play would have accelerated the drive that tied the game and accelerated the clock on the whole thing. That would have given you a chance maybe to have them kick their field goal or score their points earlier and get you the ball back. And the other one, I think it was on the field goal drive. So maybe you would have, gotten down the field earlier. I don't know. But it's unacceptable. And then the accountability factor is unacceptable. And CA says, and this is interesting, let's not cut any more vets. They're under contract, and when people get hurt, you need them. I mean, you think Tyler Lockett, this is a fair point. You think Tyler Lockett's not giving you better than Mason Kinsey gave you there? You think he's not? He is. He's giving you better than that. Ridley will not be back. I mean, Ridley may be back next year. Ridley's out for the year with a broken leg. He may need surgery. Well, this X being up next week, Xavier Restrepo being up next week, it depends on Chim DK. If Chim DK recovers from the chest contusion, then DK's back, and then, they're right where they were coming into this game or last week's game when Ridley was out. They didn't need him. I don't know that anybody's been on a practice squad this long, but he's not on the practice squad right now. He's on the 53. So Titans have a pile of money. Dwayne went asking about the Titans salary cap situation for next year. They've got scheduled to have the second most money. Stop with the Amy needs to sell. She's not going to sell. She's not your Daniel Snyder. Daniel Snyder was treating women horribly and doing all kinds of nefarious things. Amy's just a shitty owner. Michael Spain says Cam is not accurate enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. Well, there's a chance that he gets more accurate, and it's too early to dismiss him as an NFL quarterback. Did moving the left tackle and back to right tackle possibly mess up JC? What's messing up JC right now is JC doesn't seem very hell-bent on being a good NFL player. Seems like he's mailing it in. If you can't change the cadence, then don't do that. Well, the 4 other offensive linemen and the 10 other guys on offense seem to not have a problem with changing the cadence. JC Latham seemed to have a problem with changing the cadence. Jeffrey says, I think McCoy should have called the timeout with 12 seconds left. At least you can try a Hail Mary. When you let the clock run out, you don't have a shot at all. I mean, that's reasonable. Brandon said, this was Mike McCoy's last opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL, and he's pissed it away. He had no idea what it takes to be a head coach in the NFL circa 2025. Can't get a stop. This is a good point by CA. Can't get a stop on 3rd and 16 at home versus a backup quarterback to give us a chance. Look, they've got a premier wide receiver and Nico Collins, who gets open at 17 yards on a 3rd and 16, and boom. Offense was inept. I think that's a perfect word, Jay. I mean, before I had this number, but before that last drive, the touchdown drive, the Van Jefferson touchdown drive where they scored with 1 minute and 35 seconds left, 11 plays, 95 yards. Before that drive, their offensive numbers were even more pathetic than you might expect. I have to call them up out of my column, but it was unbelievable. 5 of their 10 possessions, they went 3 and out. 5 of their 10 possessions, they went 3 and out. Robert says, I know this sounds silly, but at this point, we'd be better off throwing 3 deep shots a drive. At some point, we'll hit several of them. I don't know about several, but some. Unction says they're trying to lose every game so they can get the number 1 pick, thereby receiving many more draft picks. I don't understand all this optimism. I don't know that anybody's being optimistic. I think you win a couple games by accident, and I don't think he's making a 4th and 2 decision. Even if Mike McCoy was told to make decisions to lose games, don't you think he would go against it? Like, what's the benefit to him personally to make decisions that make the Titans more likely to lose games? He wants, I would believe, to be in the league beyond the remainder of the Titans season. He was out of the league for a time, for 4 years, I think. Then he came back and he was with Jacksonville for a few years, didn't do anything special in Jacksonville. Then Brian Callahan, who he mentored, asked him to come back and be a senior advisor. Now, if he is absolutely atrocious in this time as an interim coach, even if he's doing what the Titans ask him to do in your scenario, which I do not buy, if he's doing what the Titans ask him to do in this scenario and losing games on purpose for the sake of a draft pick, a better draft pick, he's killing his chances at staying in the league. So he's earned respect from Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi and Amy Adams-Strunk for doing as they asked, and then he's not going to work in the league anymore? What's the benefit to him? What's the end game for Mike McCoy? Somebody spell that out to me. This team sucks Says CA, like the 32nd team, and it's not close. 30 and 31 are way ahead. Do I think the Titans will struggle, Jack asks, to attract a top head coaching candidate, considering guys like Ben Johnson and Adam Peters, GM, not a head coach, but still declined to interview here during their respective cycles? Well, I think you lose out. Other teams have had people pass on them. Adam Peters was a very intriguing guy. Ben Johnson was a very intriguing guy, but Brian Callahan was people were heavily interested in Brian Callahan, and they got him. Look, I think it's a less attractive job than it used to be because Amy Adams Strunk has been on this firing tear. And I think, any good candidate for this job is going to talk to Mike Vrabel, and he's going to say bad things about ownership. And any candidate for this job is going to talk to Brian Callahan, knowing that Brian Callahan wasn't a good coach, but still to get a lay of the land. And Brian Callahan isn't going to say good things about ownership. And they're going to talk to Rand Carthon. Rand Carthon may be dumb enough to say good things about ownership. I don't know. But the reviews about ownership shouldn't be good. Borgonzi's going to have to sell it. And, maybe Bones Fassel will sell it. Brinker's obviously going to have to sell it. Miami will be a more attractive job. I don't know that New York is a more attractive job. For some guys, it might be. For other guys, it might not be. But they're going to have to sell it. I mean, it's not like nobody's going to take it. It's one of 32. There are some good things. New stadium coming. Cam Ward, if you liked him coming out, you get your hands on him and have a chance to fix him and make your own thing. Also, if Cam Ward doesn't pan out, then you probably get a second go round helping to choose your own quarterback. It's not completely terrible. Also, you're going to get a 5-year deal and you're going to get paid for those 5 years, even if she fires you early. It's not the best thing, but it's a thing. So Atlanta is sure to come open now. That will be the number one opening. Well, if he gets fired in 2 years, if Raheem Morris gets fired in 2 years and Arthur Smith got fired in 3 years, or did he get 4? I mean, why is that? Arthur Blank is respected, but I don't know if that's a great job. Is Kenneth more capable, in my opinion, of guiding this franchise? Nobody knows anything about Kenneth. I mean, I talk to Kenneth on the side sometimes. He's a really nice guy. His wife is lovely, and he's an affable guy. But I don't know anything about what he knows about football. And most people around the building don't know much about him. He worked in the building early and kind of hopped around from department to department to get a little bit of a feel. That was like really early. I think like after he came out of college and when Bud was still around. But beyond that, he hasn't done much. The guy who's really around and has his hands on things is Bryce Wasserman, the son-in-law, and he's not in line to take over the organization unless Amy really screwed over Kenneth, and I don't think she can based on Kenneth's ownership share. So we don't know. Timing and accuracy seem to be an issue, but also the current state of the team is hard for any rookie quarterback. Cam should be given a lot of rope. Cam's going to be given a lot of rope. Cam is going to be given a lot of rope. Jabari says, is it coincidence that the offense is lifeless like Callahan and McCoy personalities? I don't think Brian Callahan had a lifeless personality. Brian Callahan had a good personality. McCoy absolutely has a lifeless personality. Who is a better team or has better chances, Ravens or Chiefs? I think Chiefs. Well, it depends largely on Lamar's health. Is Ridley out permanently? Ridley is out for the season, yes. If so, why not bring up Restrepo since other receivers are getting chances from the practice squad? Well, Ridley was out the 3 weeks before this. That didn't create room for Restrepo. I hate to break it to you guys, but expecting Restrepo to come in and be a savior is silly. He was not, let's not go crazy with this McCoy mentoring Callahan. I mean, he was a coach that Callahan worked for. Callahan worked for a lot of coaches. They need a guy like Breece Hall in a bad way next year. Could be Breece Hall, but I wouldn't pay too much money for a running back, though they've got a lot of money. They're not getting compensatory picks. Somebody's asking me if they would have received a compensatory pick for Draymond Jones. Compensatory pick comes out of an equation between what you lose and what you get. Titans are going to be signing so many free agents still next year. They're not in the running for compensatory picks. S. Rowe says maybe they do this a bit, but notice Jeff being lined up out wide quite a bit today. I thought that was a cool wrinkle. They've got no alternative there because their outside rushers are so limited. Derek says if DK can become a solid number 2 wide receiver, the Titans should replace him as a returner to avoid further injuries next year. This first injury is a fluke play on a muff, and it's very hard for this team to find a returner. I would not be anxious to replace him in that scenario. Jimmy says Pollard, Snead, Ridley, all cut in March. I would agree. I think they get out of Cushenberry without much dead money, and I think they probably will. Depends. I mean, they could have a new offensive line, a new coach, a new offensive line coach. He thinks they can get a lot out of him, but we'll see. He's not been good. He's not been good. I don't know how anybody's arguing this. I mean, Lockett, with Oliver and Ridley on IR and DK not, if he's going to be out, they certainly could use Lockett. Maybe he'd go sign Lockett even. I don't know. Trey asks, is it better to cover a bad team that feeds you so much shit to analyze or have a winning team where it's working? Well, it's better to kind of cycle, but this bad team stuff has gotten old. How about people retweet that this is going on? That would be helpful. If you are not a member of paulkuharsky.com, you really ought to be. First off, to support independent journalism. Most of you that come here seem to enjoy the product, enjoy the conversation. I hold the Titans' feet to the fire, I think, more so or better than anyone else in town. And I think there's value in that. So I hope you would support my endeavors in that. I've got a lot of content on the site. Blake Bedingfield will have a scouting review of this game, telling you who did what and who didn't and how they were deployed. He scouted for the Titans for 19 years, largely responsible for Derrick Henry winding up on this team. So that's a great read. Drew Beatty writes every week. He did a great analysis of Peter Skoronski last week with a big film study. Mike Herndon had a spectacular piece. I made this one not behind the paywall on Saturday about Ridley and about Cam Ward and kind of comparing him to other quarterbacks drafted in similar situations. It makes him look more promising than you might expect. Braden Gall contributes kind of some college information every Friday, what we should be looking for in the weekend and who's rising and falling at positions that the Titans are in need. And, of course, everything that I write, I'll send you a text message every time I'm podcasting like these that are very popular after games, all for $7.50 a month, which is really nothing if you think about it in terms of the price of a cup of coffee or a cocktail or a beer. So please come join the cause. We've got a private Facebook page where people talk amongst themselves. There's some ticket exchange that goes on there and the like. And your first priority in a mailbag. Also, I need you to eat at Edley's. Edley's Barbecue sponsors all my podcasts. It's great barbecue. If you don't have the app, if you can't make it to Edley's to eat, one of 8 local locations, you likely live near one of them. Really small delivery fees, really quick delivery. Beats the hell out of DoorDash or Grubhub or any of those things. Terrific food, portions, hospitality, everything you can want. So check out Edley's Barbecue. Thank you for your indulgence. Cam needs to Cam needs to be the most evaluated player for the upcoming draft. I mean, the new coach is clearly going to have a heck of a handle on Cam Ward and what's going on with him and what needs to happen. Hit that like button. Yeah, Richard reminded me. Like, subscribe, rate, do all of that. Whether you're listening or watching live now on Twitter, on YouTube, or on Facebook, my public Facebook, or listening later on Apple, Spotify, or any of those places. All of that is a big help. Here, S. Rowe says, I mentioned the team is no longer doing the pregame show segment with the outside media members. Any idea why that is? I suspect that they've found it rather, it's not the team, it's Titans Radio. It's aligned with the team, obviously. I suspect they found it rather boring to have repetitive discussions about failing players and poor performing elements of the team. And I haven't listened to that segment since I was retired from that segment when I left the zone 8 years ago now. Not 8 years ago, sorry. Maybe 4 years ago now. But I think it's significant that they did that segment. I really enjoyed doing that segment with Jim Wyatt, and it was with Jonathan Hutton most of the time. And I think we had very intelligent discussions on important matters. And I think I would think it lessens the pregame show. I was disappointed to hear it was going away, and that's why I pointed it out. I think you should let Titans Radio know what you think about it. Don't forget that Mike McCoy is tanking for a draft pick he won't be here to see get picked. This fan base sometimes. Yeah, that's another reason. Like, why would he go along with it? Like, what's the benefit to him? What's the realistic expectation on number of remaining games the Titans can win? I mean, they are closer in talent to the Saints and to the Browns, but it's very hard for me to imagine them winning any more games. I was with Arden Key for a while post game. He didn't say anything outrageous. I'm trying to get every guy to say, hey, yeah, let's be more aggressive. And nobody was really in the mood for it. What did he say, Chris? The Arden Key comments today speak to the need of a coach who has the respect of players and who can empower the veterans to hold younger players accountable. I mean, I don't think you need the coach to empower you to hold younger players accountable. It helps, I guess, but I think Jeff Simmons put a lot of people on notice today and has the power. And I don't know that Arden Key is the stripes as a guy who's such an inconsistent player and who's been missing hurt, though he played well today. But please post what exactly he said. I wasn't with him the whole time. Yes, Trey, I talk to Vrabel periodically. Concerned with all the batted passes. I mean, it's going to happen with Cam Ward, the way he throws and his height. I don't think it's not among my top concerns. Scott just can't understand all the pre-snap penalties. Yeah, it's a sign of an undisciplined team. It's not an acceptable thing. But I don't know. I don't think that they have anybody who has the clout to say this is unacceptable who will get a response from players. Richard said, Cam was a mixed bag today. Fumble with the ball below his waist and batted balls were disappointing. His scrambling was a nice addition. Those were 3 runs for 33 yards, an 11 average. Tony Pollard, 2.2 average. Tajay Spears, 0.8 average. The run game was absolute shit. Absolute shit. So they have the legend of the game, Jared says, come out early in the game instead of waiting till there's already a fork in us late in the game. Yeah. I mean, look, I like Stephen Tulloch a lot. Calling Stephen Tulloch a legend is kind of an insult to me. to Javon Curse and Eddie George and Bruce Matthews and guys who are, in fact, legends of the Titans organization. I mean, there's only so many. Do you have 8 or 9 home games? If you try to have a different legend of the game for 2 years, when you have 17 home games, you don't have 17 legends. It's kind of a silly thing to do. No, I didn't mean to hide that. Heath says the zone's coverage is so bad, top to bottom. I think there are a couple things at the zone that are good and some more that are less than good. Heath likes Cam's matter-of-factness, seems to be one of the few on offense to show accountability. I agree with that. Has Simmons, Chris asks, done the most to improve his image among fans than any player this season? I think absolutely. If you hadn't seen it, I put a snippet from my podcast on Friday where I spent some time on Simmons. It's on my Instagram Reels and my TikTok. Trying to grow my TikTok if you want to follow me on TikTok. But my Reel and my Instagram has grown. And I may have put it on Twitter as well. But what he had to say about the NFL challenging the NFLPA's report cards thing, I think was a very mature and leaderish thing. Jack says, as often as this team punts, you'd think they'd run a fake or two in these close games. You know, Bones probably wants to do it. You think McCoy is vetoing it? Anything that is not conservative, I think McCoy is against. This guy is as buttoned up as they come. I mean, just ridiculous. Robert says, you've been doing this successfully for so long, Paul. It becomes harder to cover the team when they're in this. Does it become harder to cover this team when they're so dreadful? I have to say this, Robert, to be honest. There's a segment of the population that considers me exceptionally negative and does not like me. And when the team is this bad, everyone is negative. So everyone is kind of aligned with me now. So I think I'm more well-liked this year, which is a nice respite. But yeah, it'd be nice to get things better. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get off of that. McCoy has helped Cam. Cam is inaccurate, and McCoy is padding his garbage ability to no end. What's a bigger need, edge or wide receiver in the draft? Equally big. Corner also. 3 huge positions. They need to trade out of their high spot, get themselves 3 picks in as tight a early window as they can, and address all 3 picks. Is it common to carry only 5 wide receivers on game days? Yeah, it's not a big deal. I would think it would be 6. So if 3 starters get injured, you have a backup for each player. It's crazy. You have a backups that can back up all 3 positions, but you don't expect that all 3 starters are going to get injured. Yeah, I mean, Latham looked like a guy that was committing penalties and not giving a shit. He had, some moments. Tired of rooting for this team. A lot of people saying that. Yeah, I think that's the end of Ridley here. It sucks to lose that. Yeah, Ridley has a broken leg. He's done for the year and may require surgery. DK was checked for a concussion, didn't have a concussion, has a chest contusion. So we will see what that means for him. The earliest news we would get is that he's ruled out for the week. But if he has a chance to play next week, I think that would probably be a game time decision. What else do you guys have? It's good to see so many of you here. I appreciate it. How are the ticket sales looking for the new stadium? All indications are they continue to do very well there. Doesn't have a lot to do with how the Titans are playing this season. People are buying them despite that. At what point should Bergonzi think about extending Skoronski? During this off season. McCoy has been good for Cam. Cam has been a notch better overall under McCoy, but I wouldn't go crazy about it. January 2022 divisional playoff. January 2026, worse than ever. Yeah, things change over time. I love how, Dalton says, the week following the Colts game, McCoy kept saying he regretted not going for it on 4th down. Almost identical situation today, and of course, he does the same conservative shit. I will be pointing that out to him tomorrow. Should we move Latham to guard? No. Look, he's had a couple shitty games. You have to leave him at right tackle for the remainder of the season without any thought and see what becomes of him. And you have to hope the next staff sees a right tackle in him and can get him playing better. I don't think it's a Latham can't be a good right tackle thing. I think it's a how much of a shit does Latham give, quite frankly. I think that's a focus and concentration issue, and I think his head's not in it. It's a mental thing, not a physical thing. If he goes to guard, why does that make his mental better? It's very disappointing. Yeah, I mean, Cam running today was a great development, and it's something people have been waiting to see, and we haven't seen. I couldn't even name you, John, the other receivers on the practice squad. But I do expect to see Restrepo get a chance before the season's over, so maybe this is it. But you also have to think, like, Kinsey is a small slot guy, and Restrepo can't do anything for you on special teams. So what's the size? What's the size and what's the special team contribution potential? Here's something about the Arden Key. Arden Key discussed how young players are not responding to the vets when given advice and how in the past young players respected veteran voices. That's interesting and disappointing. But I don't know that like an earlier comment suggested that that's got something to do with the coaches. I mean, I think the coaches should and probably do urge the younger players to lean on veterans. I certainly think DK and Io Manor and Helm do that. Some of these younger players just suck. For Key, those players at his position would be Ollie Gay, who's now out hurt, Jalen Harrell, who combined with Key on a sack, some guys who don't play, but we'll certainly delve into that further. And thank you for pointing that out to me. TK says, I went to the game today, and that was more of the sadder environments I've been in. There were people taking naps around you. I hope you're kidding. It's not a very comfortable place to nap. Aside from the game at Las Vegas and the penalties, I think Latham has been pretty solid in pass pro. I think Latham's bad moments have been very kind of obvious and notable. And I think, that makes him feel like maybe a bigger issue than he is, but he just can't stand for it. And, is Skoronski in a position as, the leader of that line to call out Latham? I don't know. Are those two assistant coaches who have become co-position coaches there in position to shake him, scare him, call him out? I don't know. But that's an unacceptable showing by him. The O-line, Mike S. says, has not been terrible overall this year. It's just been more Cam, to be honest. I mean, it's been a degree of Cam. Look, you wanted the offensive line. I wanted the offensive line to get kind of to an average level. And I think it has gotten to a more average level. I mean, Cam was sacked, 3 times today? Maybe 4 times today? Cam Ward, 3 sacks by a defense with Hunter and Anderson. It's not too bad. Maybe my standards are way down. Tennessee defense sacks. 1 for Will Anderson, 1.5 for Hunter, 0.5 for another guy. I think, that's not terrible. Here's Dalton Huff says, I think Latham gave up 1 pressure today, regardless of the pre-snap bullshit. That's very encouraging versus the Titans' run. And their leak says 3 sacks against this defensive line is not bad, to be honest. Why can't they ever move him off the spot? You're talking about the opposing quarterback? Cam does have to protect the ball better, but I feel like his ability to navigate the pocket has gotten worse since being in the league. I don't know. With those runs today, I felt like his ability to navigate the pocket wasn't bad. And at least the turnover today was like a legitimate strip sack as opposed to a dropping the ball issue. That's much better. So take that. And here's, a sensible comment from Sergeant Bubbles. It's really tough for Cam to develop when Mason Kinsey is part of a starting wide receiver group. He wasn't starting, by the way, but wound up playing a lot. Tight ends were the only receivers able to get open this game. Yeah, you're not getting a lot of separation from Van Jefferson and from Mason Kinsey. Quite frankly, you're not getting a lot of separation from anybody. Cam's a sitting duck because they never move him, Jay says. I would like to see them move him more. But I think this is a good point from Aaron. It seems like Cam has done a better job taking velocity off his throws and taking checkdowns the last couple of weeks. There was one throw that was batted down that he took velocity off of. I said to David Beauclair sitting next to me, there's one he didn't throw 100 miles an hour, and he kind of suffered for it because somebody was able to get their hands up. Here's good from Caleb Hoffman. I enjoyed Mike Herndon's article this week pointing out that we have such a small sample size. Picking Cam was always about his trajectory rather than turning the ship around day one. And that's absolutely true. Andrew says people want Ridley out. Who's Cam going to have? Well, he's going to have a high draft pick and a free agent, a mid-range free agent. That's what I expect. Do I think that the miss by Kinsey was more on Cam or more on Kinsey? I think that was a good find by Cam. Unfortunate they could not connect. Very unfortunate. I mean, I think Kinsey has to find a way early to recognize that ball's coming and get himself turned in a way that he can catch it. And I think Cam needs to throw a better ball, realizing, what position that Kinsey's in and setting him up for more success. But it just sucks that you've got a wide open receiver and they can't make it work. And you can't have a guy who's been mostly a practice squad guy since 2020 be your guy in that position. I said this earlier and I'll say it again. Guy started here in 2020. A guy like that should get 2 years. If he doesn't turn into a guy after 2 years, you should be getting somebody who's slightly better and has a chance to have a better ceiling. At least every 2 years, if not every year. All right, we've seen what that guy offers us. He's a good help to us in practice, but if we need him in a game, he's too limited, and we have to have somebody better that could play snaps if we wind up in a situation like today. He's not. Where's the next guy? Where's the next guy? Where's the next guy? And this team from fucking 2020 has had Mason Kinsey to be in that position, and you can't have it. Got to get incrementally better, and they're not incrementally better. And they've got depth issues like that across the roster, and it's fucking criminal. Do I think Borgonzi has the stones to pull a trade off like the Texans did 3 years ago with Anderson and Stroud? Well, he doesn't need to pull off a trade that gets him Stroud because he's got his quarterback. So he doesn't need to do it with 2 picks. He needs to do it and get himself 1 pick. Now, can he stay high enough to get Bain and still get productive stuff? Or does he take, I had a list of guys that I would be satisfied with if they went as low as 10. I think they could still get a guy good enough for 10. The guy I talked to tomorrow, Chuck, the guy I talked to tomorrow is McCoy. And what is McCoy going to say about Mason Kinsey being on the roster since 2020? McCoy, who's been here for 10 games. He's not going to stumble around and look like a fool. No, I do not think this, Spencer Brown. Do I think do I feel like the conservative play calling on 4th down is calculated to lose games? I know that's a crazy question, but a valid question, Spencer Brown says. No, because how does it benefit Mike McCoy to lose games? What does it do for Mike McCoy, who's trying to ensure that he gets another job in the league? He gets an interim job and he loses games. And if he's losing games on purpose, what does he get outside of thank yous in this conspiracy theory from Amy Adams Strunk, Mike Borgonzi, and Chad Brinker? He looks like a fool nationally, locally, and then his chances of getting another job in the league sink substantially. He looks like a dinosaur coaching the way he's coaching on 4th down, or in these situations where he's choosing field goals over extending drives to get touchdown opportunities, or punting over kicking a field goal, or trying to get into better field goal position. I just don't understand how so many people think he would willingly go along with that. Why? Doesn't make any sense to me. What else we got? Need an Ohio State receiver in Bryce Hall or Reese. Yeah, I mean, they need all of that stuff. Had too many 3-and-outs today. 5 3-and-outs in 10 offensive possessions. Average plays per possession, 5.9. Not very good. Not very good. Prochet can't be worse than Kinsey. I think Prochet would have fared much better than Kinsey today. Thoughts on Gunnar Helm up to this point? Is Chig still the better run blocker? Probably. 3 GMs at fault here with Kinsey. Yeah. And I think coaches chiming in saying, I like that guy for what he can do on our practice squad. Are we re-signing Chig now? He does come in clutch. Does come in the clutch situations, but I do see a lot of promise in Gunnar. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Teams need 2 tight ends, even if you don't play 2 tight end formations. People talk like you have to choose one or the other. Titans had the best Titans teams have had, 2 quality tight ends. Remember Jackie Harris? Dom, my guy. McCoy's cop-out answers post-game every time he concedes on 4th and short are ridiculous. At what point does the young group get experience in critical situation football, especially Cam? It's a really good question. Critical situation family. Number 93, a total no-show today. I didn't notice him. Dalton, how confident am I that Borgonzi can get this coaching hire right and the team turned around in the coming years? I don't know. I don't know him that well yet. Hire's going to tell us a lot. I hope he, and it's not his hire alone. It's he and Chad together. I hope the search is broad. I hope it doesn't have to be somebody he knows. And And, I think there are good candidates out there. I hope they can get one of them and hit it the way that Robinson hit it with Rabel. Seems like, Leak says, they tried to get Spears more involved in the screen passing game today. 5 for 5 for 31 yards, 6.2 per catch. And they had one good one that got them 14 yards when they got pushed back by penalties to 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 16. It was a hell of a conversion. Why do the top 2 picks from last year's draft seem like they just don't give a shit? You think Cam Ward doesn't give a shit? I mean, that's absolutely wrong to read on Cam Ward. Oladejo's on injured reserve with a cracked bone in his leg. So I think that's a misread to say he doesn't give a shit. So I don't really know what you're talking about. Mike, he's saying the only issue with keeping both is that neither one is a great or even really good run blocker. Well, you carry 3 tight ends. You can get a good run blocker for that. David Martin Robinson's just the guy. So go find a good run blocker. It's hard to find good run blocking tight ends. They don't really exist in college. Pollard hurt, or is he just bad now? Yeah, he's pretty much just bad now. I mean, he was good on 10 carries in what was the last game? Chargers game. I think he'd be a good 10-carry guy when they can get the run game going. They didn't get the run game going today, that's for sure. Sam wants Latham benched. So Oli Udo for Sam, I think that's a little extreme. He needs to get his mind right, that's for sure. But I think you get his mind right with him playing, not with him sitting. Dom says, explain to me the decision to RPO on the first down play of the game for a 13-yard gain and then proceed to call runs per usual on the next 10 straight with only one going for 3+ yards. I can't explain it. It's conservative idiocy. Colin, I mean, say who you mean. You mean Latham and Sweat. Well, say it. I don't want to call you out in here, but I mean, fucking got me commenting on stuff you don't even ask. It's ridiculous. All right. Seems like you guys are out of questions, and it seems like I am out of answers. Mike says in regard to the idea of benching Latham, that the Titans don't need Udo or Ojukwu on the field. Udo is way ahead of Ojukwu. Ojukwu is on the practice squad, I believe. But Sam says that Udo's games so far were better than Latham's this year. I think you could make that argument a little bit. Though, again, Latham's stuff was primarily pre-snap today. I mean, 3 false starts certainly don't help them. But in terms of his blocking, had a hold. I think somebody said he gave up 1 pressure. Titans gave up 3 sacks against elite pass rush. And they had a shit ton of problems today. But Cam being under pressure was not really one of the biggest ones. Sam asked if I ever covered a coaching staff that is scared. Absolutely not. And I wonder if some of the offensive guys under McCoy would be bolder if they were given a chance to be bolder. But doesn't matter. McCoy's running the ship, and he's scared shitless of doing anything. Anything. Do I think the Titans could add both Alec Pierce and Romeo Doubs this offseason? Why do you want both? I mean, both is going to cause clog things up. You want Isle Manor and DK to have room. You want a high draft pick to have room. And then you would want Pierce or Doubs to have room. That'd be a great 4. Give me one of those guys, the 2 4th-rounders, and on a high pick, one of your top 3 picks who's coming hopefully in the first 2 rounds. Nice. But you don't need both. You need one. We'll end on this because it's a compliment to me, and who doesn't like compliments about themselves? Spencer says, kudos to me for being able to muster up long convos about this team. I turned the TV off after the game and shut my mind off to it instantly. Well, you don't, because you've been here, Spencer, for most of this conversation, which has been 55 minutes. No, they're not going to fire McCoy, though it would be terrific. No, I don't see a situation where Denard Wilson is back next year because the new head coach is going to want his own people. And that is reasonable. Sergeant Bubbles tells me the guy's talking about the 24 draft, and that's fine. But I ask people to come in here and have a conversation. And if they're asking me one thing, but they mean another thing, it's very fucking frustrating. Ask me what you want to ask me. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm covering a shit team, and I do a decent job maintaining a conversation. But if a guy asks me about last year's draft, guess what I answer? Last year's draft. If he means the 2024 draft, ask me about the fucking 2024 draft. And on that note, we'll leave. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks. And when you ask me a question, ask me the question you mean to ask me, not some fucking question that's something else. Because then I spend 5 minutes on what you didn't mean to ask me. I'm sorry to be pissy, but for Christ's sake, good night.